Hi, I'm Michael Hartman.
I'm Naomi Liu.
And I'm Mike Rizzo. And this is OpsCast,
a podcast for marketing ops pros
and RevOps pros.
Created by the Mo Pros, the #1 community for marketing operations professionals.
Tune in to each episode as we chat with real professionals to help elevate you in your marketing operations career.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of OpsCast, brought to you by marketingops.com and powered by the Mo Pros. I'm your host, Michael Hartman, flying solo today for a variety of reasons that we can go into when Mike and Naomi can join again. Today, we are going to be talking about how to apply lean methodology within marketing and revenue operations. So to join me in the conversation today is Rutger Katz, currently Senior Digital Strategist and Marketing Technologist at Conclusion Consulting. Rutger is a marketing operations leader and digital strategist with a deep passion for steering organizations through digital transformation towards becoming customer-centric powerhouses. His career is a mix of roles where data and technology meet customer experience and marketing. His journey began in neuroscience, which I would love to dig into if we have time, but where he researched the application of virtual reality and bodily illusions, like the principle of the rubber hand illusion and social robotics. He proceeded to work at Capgemini in customer data analytics, where his work with global clients on social listening and digital marketing set the foundation for his expertise in marketing technology. Rutger actively shares his knowledge through LinkedIn, which I can attest to, public speaking, and now podcast guest, thanks to this and probably others, focusing on applied innovation, generative AI, digital strategy, and the creation of technology into marketing ops. He has a passion for exploring and applying various technologies, methodologies, and theoretical models. This led to an adoption model for CDPs, which can be applied to most MarTech, and the topic for today, the application of lean in marketing and revenue operations. So Rutger, thank you for joining us today, especially since I don't know exactly what time it is there, but it's evening for you in the Netherlands, right?
It is 6 p.m. right now. Yeah, I hurriedly got my dinner in and jumped behind my PC to have this podcast, Michael.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to have you. And so, and we might want to say, so we are recording this on Leap Day 2024. So got this extra day for an extra episode. So how about that? All right, so let's get started. Rutger, you started your agency consultancy within the last year or so. What led you to doing that? I kind of walked through probably a truncated version of your career journey, but yeah, what kinds of projects and stuff are you working on with your clients at your current place?
Sure. So I've been a consultant most of my career, and it fits very comfortably. I picked it out for my studies because I wanted to learn as much as I could within a short amount of time as possible. And I got lucky in having to work with a lot of global organizations in different industries and very varied colleagues. I've worked with clients of all different stages of maturity. So those that just started with, implementing the CDP because they want to do more in personalization, or they just started using marketing automation in B2B. And on the other hand, I've worked with implementing social analytics, did next best action modeling, and I even was lucky enough to be able to set up my own innovation lab at Capgemini, which was a ton of fun because you get free toys and attention and trips. And in terms of clients, currently I'm working on a completely new digital platform sales technology for our biggest HVAC organizations in the Netherlands. And these kinds of activities just come and go. And right now I'm also focusing more and more on, moving away from just customer experience to also think about, hey, can we move a little bit more towards sales? Can we move a little more towards customer success or customer support? And that's exactly one of the things I'm doing at my current client. We are looking at sales and marketing together and seeing, what are the solutions that are actually fit to work with both departments.
Yeah. Well, I like to think that I try to think about that full process, even in just marketing, right? What is the customer's experience all the way from prospect through hopefully becoming an advocate, right? So I think it's all connected. So I would really love to dig into the neuroscience background, but there's a rabbit hole that I think we could take up the whole episode on, because I have some familiarity with it. My wife worked for a research organization that did stuff with that for a few years. But let's keep going. So I know you and I, when we first talked about this idea of lean methodology, I think my first question, and maybe the same for some of our audience, was, oh, this is you're talking about Lean Six Sigma, but I think if I remember right, this is something different, maybe slightly related, but like, can you walk through when you use the term lean methodology, what does that mean? How is it related maybe to others or not?
Sure. So Lean Six Sigma is kind of like a bigger version and a different version of Lean. So if we look at Lean itself, it was produced by Toyota back in, I think, the second area of the 2000s, actually. And the Lean Six Sigma is just a statistics component which you don't find in base Lean. It was the Lean methodology itself was focused on maximizing value and minimizing waste. And part of that is what they call a DMIC process, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control a process. And whereas Six Sigma is focused specifically around those processes, and it uses statistics to limit the defects to no more than 3.4 million 3.4 per a million opportunities of errors, which is the 6 standard deviations from the mean. So that's where the Six Sigma comes from. But Six Sigma is mostly applied in manufacturing, for instance, AI chips right now, right? If you're producing a whole ton of AI chips, every step of the way, you need to minimize the amount of error effects because you can throw away the entire product.
Right. So I mean, it becomes an exponential issue the more steps in the process, right? So, okay. Makes sense.
Exactly. But for most processes, especially if we're talking about marketing, which we're talking towards today, 3.4 per million opportunities is not something that we are aiming for, because that is way too nitty-gritty for the topic that we're working on.
So just for our audience who's not seeing me, I've been here sort of smiling and smirking because I can use this a little bit to get on my soapbox that, like, I think more marketers need to understand statistics, like truly, like not just like how do you generate numbers, but how to put data together. And so I will use that as an opportunity to reinforce my belief that is an important skill to have, especially in this day where we have more data than we know what to do with, and knowing how to apply it, even in the age where AI might come in and do some of the heavy lifting of data preparation and normalization, all that. When you get output of an analytics that happens through AI, you need to be able to evaluate whether or not it was, whether or not it makes sense. Yeah.
If you've got 1 million customers, then you need to do statistics. If you're B2B and you have only 100 customers, it's not as interesting, I'd say.
But I think having that skill set is still an important one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree completely. There's this very interesting, I love this book called Factfulness, which is about the usage of statistics. Factfulness. It is a great read. It has a lot of good stories about the application of statistics and how people can get confused by the assumptions that they have about large numbers, thinking, then it has to be A. Whereas if you really interpret it correctly and if you ask the right questions, like, okay, based on how large of a population are we talking about, then you understand, it's actually not that big of a change.
Yeah. Well, and I think my big thing about it, I was talking to somebody just earlier this week, is I think if you don't understand how some of these statistical terms are done, how they're calculated, what the process was behind it, it's easy to be susceptible to, I'll call it false advertising, right? And I always come back to one of my favorite Mark Twain quotes: "There are lies, damn lies, and statistics." So anyway, so I'm sorry I took us off in that direction, but I had to take advantage of the opportunity.
That's a rabbit hole we're jumping over now, Michael.
Yes. Okay. We will claw our way back out and not follow Alice down the hole. So I just want to make sure. So if I understood you right, lean is a more generalized methodology that, looking for efficiencies and things like that. And the Six Sigma variant is a variant of it that is specifically focused on statistical analysis and probably most appropriate for repeatable processes and manufacturing environments. Okay. Got it.
Manufacturing environments, especially. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I get it. That makes total sense. I don't even think I picked that up from our last conversation. So thank you for that. All right. So it sounds like there's also maturity levels for understanding these methodologies or being seen as like a certification level. And you mentioned to me that you had recently gotten a green belt or gone through training for green belt level. So what did you learn from that? Right? How does that apply? And then I know we didn't talk about this necessarily, but what are the levels for those certifications in lean methodology?
So you have you have 3 levels: yellow belt, green belt, black belt, and then you have the black master belt, which is like the holy grail. Yellow belt is mostly theoretics. Okay, I understand the concepts, I understand the frameworks. Green belt, you're actually applying it. So I had to apply it in a use case. We went through a whole client case, or for us, we did research on our own organization. Okay, where can we find efficiencies? We'll go through the entire process of what you do in lean. So you've proven, okay, you understand, you know how to do a lean process. So that's the green belt certification that I did in fall. And now I've started with my black belt training. The first day is actually tomorrow, which is awesome. The next level. Where green belt, you can do it, for instance, within a marketing department. Black belt is where you would look across departments at a more strategic, higher organizational level, to find efficiencies, to find, improve the value stream in that sense. And when I did the course for the first time, I saw lean pop up here and there during my career, usually at banks for whatever reason. And when it started for me, it was just a candy shop of frameworks and structures, which consultants like me love.
Of course. Yeah.
Because then we can sort of fit the chaos, at least in my head, the chaos that's in my head of ideas and frames. Oh, hey, here's something where it actually fits in very neatly. How can I improve processes within marketing organization, within the marketing operation? And here are some tools which I can apply very easily to cover a certain question or to cover a certain issue that I'm encountering of, okay, I'd like to improve this process. I know I should. Do I have an urgency somewhere? No. Okay, what can I use to cover up that or show that demonstrated urgency to the rest of the people so they, oh yeah, we should change that process.
Yeah.
And that is something where I really liked it.
I'm having done work as a consultant in my career and having written methodologies at one point. What I find the value of those methodologies and those templates is not so much. Well, I've seen them where some consultants use them as a crutch, right? So they're very. It's kind of like, sorry to all the PMI certified people though, but I've worked with PMI certified project managers who are terrible, and they know the models and everything else, but they don't know how to apply them. I think these templates and methodologies should be seen as a tool, and where you get real value is where you can leverage those and adapt them to a specific scenario. Yep. And I think that's what I'm hearing from you is that the part of the methodology provides that, and then these certification levels help you develop that skill set of knowing how and when to use different parts of it and how to adapt them to a scenario.
Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. I am swinging for the fences today. I don't even know if that applied. Does that analogy even ring true? Like, that's a baseball thing. So I don't know if that works for those of you in Europe.
I do know about baseball. I've seen the movie Moneyball, so I have a good idea of what baseball's about, but it's not as big here as it is in the US. No,
I'm sorry.
the same for basketball.
Yeah, I don't know any cricket, analogies.
We don't do cricket. That's the UK. We do hockey. We do field hockey.
Oh, okay. Hockey and
That's
field hockey.
the Dutch sport, field hockey.
Yeah. Well, so I was on a call the other day with people who are mostly in Europe and Africa, and I said I'm one of the few Americans who's following Six Nations right now. Right, so I'm a rugby fan. So
awesome.
And I'll watch the tour. I'm a big tour fan. So, okay. So let's so when you and I talked again, I'm kind of going back to that part of the lean methodology, and I think you've hit on this a little bit. Its goal is to help organizations do, with doing the right things and doing them the right way, right? So that sounds, yes, absolutely. I think we could all get behind that. It sounds simple, but there's, I'm sure, more nuance to that. Can you explain a little more about what that means? And well, I can hold my next question, and maybe you'll touch on it. But I think to me, the hard part there is, what are the right things, right? Knowing what that is.
Yes.
And I will give you another analogy. So I'm a big fan of personal tools for improving your efficiency. So I was a Frank McCovey fan. There's Eisenhower Matrix, and they all have some sort of prioritization. How do you prioritize the to-dos or tasks on your list? And I always tell people, the model seems simple. It's knowing which ones are the high priority or in the different range, right? Important but not urgent, or important versus urgent. And so I think that I would love for you to dig into that specifically, if you can.
Yeah, I will, absolutely. So maybe to start at the basics for those of the people who don't really know lean. So they build it around 3 P's: purpose, the right thing; process, the right way; and then people, the ones that are doing it. And so the goal always has been to sort of enhance efficiency, productivity, and customer satisfaction while cutting waste. For instance, in one of the videos that we saw, they applied it very successfully to a volunteer group that was packaging food relief in the US. So you saw that they took a long time, putting every can of beans and potatoes, whatever it was, in the specific box. And they used the lean methodology to figure out, okay, how can we as quick as possible, as efficiently as possible, get as many boxes ready within a certain set of time. So, they reorganized the room, they changed people's position, they changed people's tasks, and it's fine. Okay, this is the best way of doing it. So
I'm wondering if I was in that video, because I have been one of those people who's done that. Right? Yeah. Through my church, we've filled those boxes and.
Exactly.
Get a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing, and they're. I think we were all aiming for perfection, right? Which is probably not really what is needed. But anyway, sorry.
So when you mentioned the right things, lean has a couple of tools in there to help organizations. Okay, let's identify the right things, and then also make sure that we keep focusing on the right things, that we don't have any scope creep or annoying requests that nobody actually wants to do. And it was also one of the things I hear from looking through LinkedIn, hearing people from marketing operations, hearing people from revenue operations, that they're getting requests that they don't add any value, that they don't have any strategic value. For instance, a last-minute request to start and launch a new campaign because we need to deliver more leads right before the end of the month or whatever. And then sure, you'll get leads, but those won't be sales qualified leads. They'll be useless. But wait, you got the KPI of leads. So I think a lot of us are challenged in these positions that we don't really have a lot of tools or frameworks in how to start the discussion, or at least challenge the work that we are getting thrown over the fence or from higher up. And I'll give a brief description of a couple of those. So for me, the one I really like the most, and I think this is my favorite one, is the Hoshin matrix, which is a X matrix, they call it. And it aligns your company goals of 3 years, right? Strategic goals with 1 year, so the things you want to do this year. You break it down and link it with activities over the top. Okay, which activities does that mean for my department, for my MOPS department, whatever? And then on the right-hand side, you cover that with the KPIs and the ones actually responsible for the activities. So in one overview, you have who's responsible for which activities and how do your activities actually pull back towards the global and strategic goals. So that whenever someone asks you, hey, can you do this for me? And you can, look, here's the Hoshin matrix. No, we're not doing that this year because we are focused on these topics. These are our KPIs to, get our strategic goals for the year in place. Everything else goes to the bottom of the prioritization list. Sorry for that.
So this is Hosin, Hosin?
Hoshin.
Okay.
Japanese term. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So interestingly, literally today on LinkedIn, I think it was Daryl Alfonso who posted a poll, and it had to do with what are some of the challenges with people understanding what marketing ops does. And I've had this conversation a couple of times, and I think part of it is where I think this might be going for me in tying it back to marketing ops folks is this might provide a framework for you to not just push back and say no, right? Which is maybe what you're doing, but to change the way that you are seen is where you're being strategic and being strategic about how you work with the organization. So you can tie those things back. My guess is most people will not immediately be able to say no on things. There'll be a lot of pressure for highly visible things like turning around leads. It happens all the time. And at the same time, I think you can start to use something like this as a tool for, this is how we're thinking about how to prioritize our limited resources, both people, technology, time, and money. And I think that is what I think I want our listeners to take away from this is think about this as a tool, not necessarily of a full methodology, but tools that you can use in your tool belt to help you be seen as more strategic without just simply saying, no, that's a stupid thing to do, which sorry to all of our, I think there are a lot of marketing ops folks who complain about this and are in search of ways to change that perception.
Yeah. I think everyone within marketing operations and revenue operations wants to have the strategic talk and ensure that they have the baggage, the accordance of higher up. Okay, what you're doing is actually strategic in nature. These are activities that we want you to do because they are attributing to our strategic goals for this year. Yep. Everything else, waste. Don't focus on it. You have my blessing of saying no to things that are falling off. So another thing which I liked on doing the right things is called the Kano. The Kano is 3 bars, and it's a good way to plot your CX-related activities. So you have a line which is basics, line which is prestige, and the line that is sort of the wow factor. And it goes on the one axis, it is the amount of effort you have to put in, and then the amount of benefit that you're getting from it. I'd have to do it in a visualization because we're talking on a podcast, and this is something that you would love to see visually.
Yeah. I know you share some stuff. We'll try to put that into the description or when we post about it, share some of those things.
So the thing on the basics is, so let me just explain the 3 lines very quickly. Imagine you've got a hotel, right? You've got in every hotel, which makes it a hotel, is that there's a bedroom, right? That's a basic. You need a bedroom in your hotel, right? When you're whatever your engagement with your customer is, whatever your product is, you need to have the basics in order. If it doesn't function, you can forget about any customer satisfaction whatsoever. So that's a basic you need to have in order. It doesn't need to be excellent in quality. No, at a certain amount of time, there's sort of a cutoff of when it will increase or add value to the net promoter score or the
there's
return
like a
that you're getting.
baseline expectation you have to meet.
Exactly.
And after that, you can differentiate.
After that, you differentiate. Then you go into the prestige. Now, the prestige would be something like, I've got a good bathroom, something like a bath. I'm happy. I'm very happy if my hotel room has a bath. And has a bath that's large enough to fit my shoulders in, so I don't have to sort of squeeze in and sit upright very awkwardly. I'm very happy with that's there. It doesn't need to be, it's still a hotel room if it's not there. I'm very happy that's there. For me, it's a very big prestige component. And then the wow factor is something that if it's there, it surprises you. You can really win points by it. And something like that would be right, getting everything just right, good customer service, proactive communication, personalized here and there. That is that prestige, that finesse stuff. If the other two are not in order, the prestige stuff won't really matter because you still have sort of like a disconnect between, I've got very nice people at the front desk and they're very nice to me, but my hotel room is just very basic. So it's sort of like a disconnect for what I'm experiencing.
So could I do a little quick thought experiment? So
Sure.
My mind immediately went to, this could apply to culture within an organization. So, if you get, say, some sort of great benefit or something you think that will appeal to people, like snacks or money towards having a home office if it's a remote thing, but otherwise the underlying culture is not great, right? That benefit really doesn't solve the baseline expectation. No. Okay.
No, absolutely not. It's exactly like in employee experience in that matter, right?
Yeah.
A culture is a basic. A good manager is a basic. It's not a prestige. If it's a poor manager, people will just go away. They'll quit whatsoever. Payment is something that's a prestige. People would go for a lesser paid job if there's a good working culture, if there's a good manager, they'll be okay with it. If it's a very good pay, they'll be very happy with it. But it's not really that large of an influence if the basic is in order.
I mean, and I'm not an expert in this, but the things I've heard often when it comes to employee satisfaction, money, compensation is certainly a mix, but it's not the biggest differentiator in that. You mentioned your direct manager and culture and things like that tend to have a bigger outsized influence.
Yeah. And then the wow factor, for instance, at my office, we're very lucky. We have our own free barista. And we have a very good view. That is a wow factor. That is something that I didn't expect. But every day I'm up there and getting a very nice coffee.
Nice. All right. Well, okay. So we got these different models of identifying the right thing. So let's the other half of this is the right way, which, if I understood it right, is about process optimization. So if how do we understand current processes and how technology can help? Should a process be adjusted first, then the technology? So first off, I have a little bit of a hard time going right to the right way. Anything where it says the right this, the right that, I struggle with because it assumes there is one answer, which I find difficult to sort of just accept.
It's the same with the right thing in the right way. There is no ideal solution.
Yeah, I mean, this is my hang up with the term best practices, right?
Yeah, I can imagine.
So anyway, so let's. Do you have similar things on the right way that tools
Absolutely.
Or ways of thinking about that? Okay.
So I think Lean is very much focused about the process optimization, right? So that is really the core. I feel the core of Lean. But if you don't do the right things, then whatever you do in the right way in the process optimization, it doesn't really matter. But
sorry. So this also this literally just hit me, and it ties back to my own educational experience in operations research, which is about optimization, but it also presupposes that you know what you need to optimize for.
Exactly.
Right. So I think of UPS or Amazon with their trucks, right, or whatever, right? They can optimize for a number of different things. It could be fuel consumption, time to delivery, maximizing how many things they get out, minimizing something else, right? So you don't have to get into like what are those kinds of things, but I think for our audience, it's important for them to know like optimizing a process means you need to know what you need to optimize for.
Hey everyone, Mike Rizzo here, CEO of MarketingOps.com and co-host of OpsCast. I've got a little secret to share with you, something that's been one of the best kept perks of our community until now. At MarketingOps.com, we've built a hiring program that's changing the game for marketing operations recruitment, and we're finally sharing it with the world. Our community is over 22,000 strong, and within that, we have over 4,400 members who are actively and passively seeking new opportunities. These are seasoned professionals with skills and experience spanning platforms like HubSpot, Pardot, Marketo, and so much more. Plus, we can help you fine-tune your outreach, targeting exactly the right candidates by region, years of experience, seniority level, or even agency experience. But here's the real cherry on top. When you hire through our program, your new team member gets a free membership or a virtual ticket to our annual conference. From day one, they're not just stepping into a new role, they're getting access to the training, networking, and support they need to hit the ground running. So if you're ready to unlock this incredible opportunity, it's time to let this secret out. Visit marketingops.com and find your next star teammate today. Thanks for listening, and as always, keep optimizing.
So one of the things, and that's the last thing I'll say about the right things, there's this thing which are called customer arenas. And whenever you're sort of lost and thinking, okay, how would we further improve our offering or further improve our services or processes, whatever, you can throw in a customer arena where you invite a bunch of customers and you put them sort of in this middle arena, and your own colleagues are sort of in a half circle around it. And you would use it as a way to get first-hand feedback about your proposition, your service, whatever, where you ask them, okay, what is the thing that bothers you the most? So you can know, okay, what are my priorities in fixing it? And of course, you can do this with a survey or whatever, a structured way. I also like it, besides the quantitative stuff, to get some qualitative stuff, because quantitative stuff often tells you this is something that's wrong, but the qualitative stuff will tell you why is it wrong or what are they expecting. Sometimes they don't know it, but you could get some insights.
Yeah.
So moving over to the process, Lean sort of assumes, and everyone usually has sort of a process in place, right? We are creating a marketing campaign. We're whatever you can think of, we are creating our product. There's a process in there, and so you have your customer request or demand, whatever that might be, and then the process is the answer. Okay, how do I build this product, or how can I answer this request? And so now let me just figure out how I wanted to follow this up, because your question as well, Mike, was about the technology. You can assume that there's already a technology in place. It doesn't have to be, but it could be, and it might not be the ideal piece of technology at the time. But work with what you have, and then figure out if you need to change any technology further down the line. So in terms of process, you could go, and this is where the focus of Lean is you have this thing that's called the Kaizen. And the Kaizen is 6 steps. You go through these and you constantly iterate small changes. There's this great story about, and I use it constantly as an example. There was a Tour de France team, and they were, they didn't do very well. They had a team, they cycled, and they tried to figure out, okay, how can we improve our team in such a way that we're winning the Tour de France constantly? winning the Tour de France. So what they did is they found whatever small piece of improvement they could find for their cyclists to become better. They would bring them their personalized pillows. They would, give them massages. They would check whatever tiny little thing they could on the bike to further improve it. If you can think of it, they tried it in terms of, just a 1% improvement of the team. And I think after 3 years, they won the Tour de France, I think 5 times in a row, or something in that number. So they got there to consistent improvements. And that is the idea of the Kaizen that you walk through. You're constantly checking, okay, what are things that are going wrong? Let's analyze them, and if you're doing a Six Sigma, you would also use statistics here. Try to figure out what kind of solution it is. We implement the solution, we test it to see if it does actually fix the problem, and then we standardize the solution. So we are ensuring that it stays in place. So if I'm doing a process change in my marketing department, I want to ensure that everyone still keeps following the process. If I'm changing or adding a CRM and I'm expecting my sales team to use the CRM, then I for sure need to figure out some way to incentivize them to use it consistently.
Right.
It's possible. Otherwise, I'm building a solution, but no one's using it. So
yeah, I mean, okay. So you can apply this to the change itself as well as adoption of change or reinforcement of it. Okay. So I love that idea of, you said Kaizen. So this sounds like this. It's almost like a flywheel effect, right? Little change here, you get better. Another little change, and it gets even like the difference now is becoming greater. It's sort of a multiplier effect. So I like that. How are there? It's still at the same time. You need to identify like what do we think the most impactful little changes are that and maybe impactful is a combination of both. What does it take to do it, as well as what do you expect the outcome to come? So there's a little bit of a cost benefit.
So within the Kaizen, you would analyze. You do, for instance, the 5 whys. Get to the root cause of the issue, and you would also do something that they call a fish grade, where they try to break down the issue in all kinds of different attributing factors. So you have an idea. Okay, which factors should we adjust first? Because we're thinking they're the most influential. So you already have sort of like a way of, okay, these are the 2 things from this challenge that I should cover first and see how that fixes the problem.
Yeah. I have heard of the 5 whys, and I don't know that I've ever officially used it. Maybe I've informally done it in some ways, but it might be useful for our audience to at least get an idea. So the idea, if I understand it right, you can maybe add to it, is the concept is you've got an issue or a challenge or something you're trying to do, and you get with the right stakeholders or stakeholder, and you ask them why literally 5 times, right? To let them and ask them to, it's not to be a jerk, right? It's to get them to actually explain themselves 5 different ways and to get to the heart of what, more of a root cause analysis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the root cause, because sometimes people say, "Oh yeah, this is how we've always done it," right? And those kinds of answers, you just want to kick them out the door as soon as they say something like that. So no. We don't want to go to that level. Go a little bit deeper. Why have we always done it this way? What is the reason for doing it in such a way that we know? Do we need to change something down there or not? And sometimes after 3, you're done already. So it doesn't have to be 5.
But the idea is don't just accept the initial answer. One of the strategies that I've used as a consultant in the past too is, it works best if you have 2 people conducting the interview, and you really you actually plan. You have to plan ahead, right? You may have a series of questions, and you can flip flop going back and forth between who does it. But the key is, when the person answers your question, don't immediately ask the next question. Be quiet. People do not like to have silence. And
It is such a good methodology. Sometimes just be quiet when you've asked a question, because if you have an idea of it, but there should be something below this, right? Just keep quiet. It's hard to do.
It's so hard.
I think it's very hard to do. I'm a chatterbox in that sense, but
same.
At a certain point of time, people are just like, maybe they're still expecting something from me. Well, okay, and this and this and this, by the way.
And what I found is, I don't know that I would say more often than not, but consistently enough, the best information came from that time where I just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And so it's a subtle thing, but it is hard, especially if you're a vocal person, to fight that urge to say the next thing.
It is.
Right. Okay. So this also, we're trying to like this reinforcing loop of getting better, but could it also be one where, you hope for improvement, but you might get something that doesn't work? Or is the idea also that you learn, fail fast? I mean, I can't think that was a Google.
Fail fast, fail forward is the lean startup methodologies terminology, right?
Okay.
I've done lean startup, I've done design thinking, I've done Scrum Agile. I think I've done all of the things I can, like the entire list of the methodologies. So it isn't necessarily a fail fast, fail forward. I mean, yes, you want to be better at this, performing the Kaizen. You want to do this quicker and better, and you'll notice that as soon as you've done it a couple of times and the people are sort of enjoying, becoming better, because you'll notice that their KPIs, their team KPIs or the department KPIs, they'll increase. You compete with each other for, okay, so now we've reached an 8 in our response. Let's go for a 9. Can we get a 9?
Yeah.
Sure, let's try for that 9. You'll see that they'll become a culture of people who are trying to be better, and that is sort of the goal of the Kaizen, the lovely culture behind it, which they've achieved at Toyota, at least, where people become sort of self-motivated to find issues and okay, let's do this, let's try and fix this one, because I think this is also something that we are encountering as a blocking issue for whatever improvement whatever process we're trying to improve.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big, I like the idea of making small incremental changes. If I could create and do methodology, I'd probably incorporate things from lots of these different ones. But a principle I believe in is that you have to spend an amount of time understanding where you are and where you want to go. The analogy I like to use is sailing. I'm not a sailor, but as I understand it, right, the only thing you really know is you want to go from point A to point B. And what you really know right now is what are the conditions where I'm at. So how can I make steps in that right direction, learn and adjust? And sometimes that means you're not going in a straight line, and that's okay. Sometimes you may find that your destination was not really where you wanted to end up, or you're getting close enough. So I'm a big believer in that. So I think I like some of these concepts, and it frees people to be comfortable with things that are ambiguous, which is most of real life. Right? You don't always have all the answers you want. So, all right. Well, let's keep one of the. So we started to touch on this a little bit. So one of the challenges with any change effort, though, is communicating the change and what it means for the people in the organization. And it'll be different depending on what their roles are, right? Does the lean methodology provide tools for helping with communication of change and managing change?
Not necessarily with communicating change. So,
okay.
I think it's good to realize the lean methodology, it's sort of originated from the factory line. So there was a different kind of discipline there. You listen to your boss. You've got a certain mindset in performing. But they do have change components. So it falls under the people bubble, right? We have those 3 bubbles: purpose, process, and people. And the change falls under there. So one of the tools that they have is a sort of 4-dimensional matrix with multiple levels with I believe, I can do, I understand, and I receive support in order to want to change. So most change, you find resistance somewhere along the way. This is a
See, now
framework
this is
of
a
checking.
neuroscience. This is a neuroscience coming into play here, right?
I really enjoy behaviorisms and talking about
Yeah.
behaviorisms and reading about behaviorisms. I've just read Influence, which is a very nice, almost a research book of people's behaviors and how they influence it. And when you look at LinkedIn and people posting a certain way, you're like, oh, this is something that they picked up from that book. I know it for So, so originally Lean doesn't have a lot of tools for managing a larger change, but they did add, I think it added it a little later, which is, they call it the change acceleration process, which was designed by General Electric. And that has 7 steps of change. And it is something similar to Cotter's model for change, which is, I think, 8 steps, but it covers roughly the same. So in terms of change management, I would defer to one of those. If you know I'm going to pull like a larger change operation here, it's best to sort of pull from those methodologies, at least, to get the organization department moving. You need to get a couple of people in the leadership team to sort of understand where Lean is coming from and see, oh yeah, this is something that we are going to try, we are going to do within our organization. We are communicating about it because this is our way of reducing costs while at the same time, improving our product quality or our processes, because we know, or we feel, we have an idea that our operational cost is too high, or that we are making too many errors in our product release or product production, and this is the way we're going to move forward on trying to fix it.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. It's what I think this all requires, though, is a strong vision, a vision for a future state that's better in some way, right? And then you can tie back any change, large or small, to this is a part of getting to achieving that vision. So. Rutger, so we've covered a lot of ground, and I wish we had more time. We don't. Is there anything we haven't covered here yet that you would want to make sure, like I want to make sure the listeners know about this one thing?
Not really about this one thing. I mean, I think it's a very nice methodology to at least have sort of like a basic understanding of, so that you can try and apply it to your organization.
Yeah.
Is actually quite fun to do it. We really enjoy doing it, right? Even with a test run, we on our training day, we did it with building Legos, basically, and trying to figure out, okay, how do we get we had to make little flowers as quickly as possible in the best way of processing. And while we were so focused on the process, once we had like a testing round, we noticed we didn't actually ask the client what they wanted and how they wanted it to be delivered, and we could change our entire process based on that. Oh, damn it! So those kinds of things are really, really fun to do. If anyone wants to try the certification, I really recommend it. I enjoy. It was one of my most fun certifications and trainings to do, in terms of, hey, I can apply this to so many things.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll try to make sure that we provide links to some of the resources you shared with me.
Yeah, and I'll post on it constantly. Yeah. I really love this topic, so I'll be talking about it a ton.
All right. So we know at least one way in which people can learn more about this. If people want to connect with you or learn more about you or what you're doing or the Lean methodology, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. DM me whenever you're interested. I love to talk about this. I'd love to talk with people if they're okay. I want to try this in my organization. Can you help me? Where do I get started? And we can explore together. I'm also exploring it at my own organization, at the clients that I'm working with now, in the specific area of marketing and revenue operations.
Fantastic. Well, Rutger, thank you again. And thanks especially for staying up late for us. Appreciate that. I'm sure you've got family commitments as well. So I know that's
I
tough
think
sometimes.
the little one's just gone down to bed, so I'm a free man now.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Enjoy it. Enjoy that time. And we really thank you. Thanks to our listeners for continuing to support us. We look forward to bringing you more interesting topics like this. Until next time, bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.